Huge warning, this video may cause upset stomach, nausea, and premature pumpulations. Wow, 2021 is here, guys, and in this special episode, we're going to be going over my Bitcoin price predictions for this cycle, and more importantly, the broader cryptocurrency market cap, price predictions, and what I anticipate for this cycle moving forward. Guys, we're going to be taking a look at quite a lot different metrics and charts for Bitcoin's price moving forward, and we're going to be looking at specifically some very interesting time frames and overall market cap for cryptocurrency. So guys, grab a drink, strap in, and strap on. Let's do this. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Bobby Blastoff, returning for this extra special January 1st long-term Bitcoin and cryptocurrency entire market projection video. Guys, we have a lot to be delving into, a lot of different ideas on a lot of different topics. So without wasting much more time, if you are ready for your piggy bank to absolutely pump, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and as always, guys, your comments do enter you for a ledger equivalent in BTC, access to T4, and we will be picking a winner in the next webisode, so make sure to get your comment below. And guys, let's just jump on into it. Tickle me timbers, guys. So let's take a look at this as we just got a monthly and, yes, it's true, a yearly close just hours ago, right? Yesterday was the final day of the year that Bitcoin had not hit 6 digits. So what does that mean, guys? Naturally, Bitcoin has a lot of catching up to do over this cycle. So guys, what we have right here is the year 2021. This is a monthly chart, and in this itsy bitsy little box, this is where dreams are made of and reality becomes a little bit better for us crypto holders. So what are we going to take a look at first? So I actually want to start off here with this chart here, posted on Twitter by Libertarian. What this is the cumulative return for Bitcoin after halvings. And what we see here is Epoch 1, Epoch 2, and here we go to Epoch 3. So as you can see, guys, if we're going to see anything similar to the last two cycles, we're about to enter an absolute blast-off stage. However, basically, this chart is illustrating how long we have to go. So here, more importantly, let's dive into this first. So what we have here is a thermocap multiple here posted by Geert Jancap here on Twitter. So basically, every time Bitcoin crosses above this 16 line on the thermocap multiple, which is illustrated by this kind of horizontal gray line here, every time that Bitcoin has crossed this, which is 16, within 2 months of doing that, price has basically topped out in the short term, and we've seen at least a 3x in that same 2-month time frame, and all the way up to a 4.5x. So you can see the first time this happened back in 2011, the double blast off back here in 2013, and very end of 2013, almost going into 2014. That's where, if we actually zoom out, what this is this area right here, where that previous bull market was kind of weird. You know, we had a massive top, then a pretty big prolonged retracement, but then another absolutely massive blow off top of above $1,000, right? We initially blew up to like 250-ish almost, and then it was kind of weird for a few months, but then this cycle did not quit and ended up going and exploding even more crazily. So different from these other cycles that we've seen, but also none of these cycles are completely identical anyway. There was a theory going around by a lot of people over the last few months that's been completely disproven now, which is the theory of expanding cycles, right? I was hearing about that a lot over the last few months of where, because the last two cycles seem to be expanding because we could extrapolate the one cycle, and then the next cycle, which ended in 2018, the beginning of 2018, was slightly longer. There were people extrapolating or saying that this cycle was going to be a little bit longer, but that's since been completely invalidated, and it didn't really have a lot to go on anyway, considering this is only the third halving. So it's not like we have a bunch of cycles or a bunch of halvings to go on. There's literally only a handful, so that was just complete speculation. In fact, now people are actually more leaning towards the idea that this cycle is happening faster, and obviously because of institutional money, it's going to be drastically different in terms of the size and shape of the cycle as well. And I personally like the idea of Bitcoin being less predictable, because naturally it means things could get way crazier than anyone could predict. And I think that's more likely the case. So anyway, those two blast-offs about 6 and 7 years ago. And then the most recent one was back in 2017, the very end of 2017, December, and then going into 2018. And guys, currently we're a little bit below 16, but we're about to enter that. So naturally, what does that mean? That means that according to this chart, that once we surpass 16, which we're very, very close to, you know, could be Bitcoin right around the price we're at now, right around 30, 35,000 US dollars as we cross 16, that it's very likely that we'll see at least a 3x up to potentially a 4.5x in the next 2 months, which is absolutely insane. Now, keep in mind, we haven't crossed this yet, right? So that 2-month countdown hasn't begun just yet. But the author of this tweet actually clarifies to a comment as well. There's a comment saying, does the 3x to 4.5x increase begin at the bubble phase, meaning the bubble phase above the 16 gray horizontal line? And the author of the tweet clarifies, yes, that's what he meant. In other words, once $32,000 has been reached, okay, so he's saying $32,000 per Bitcoin is when we breach that 16 level on this chart. Once we reach that, a normal bubble phase would imply 3x to 4.5x. And that's in relation to $32,000 price target. So basically what he's saying is around $32,000 per Bitcoin, we can expect to see a 3x from 32,000 to a 4.5x from 32,000 in a very small window within only a few months, specifically on this model, within 2 months. Now that's exciting, and that also leads to the question, could we actually end up seeing a cycle where we see something kind of similar? Okay, again, none of these cycles repeat exactly, and that's why I wanted to clarify that at the beginning, but could we see a cycle where we have a massive explosion very, very soon, and then we do have a more prolonged, very interesting looking pullback sideways consolidations for months, followed by another blast off, right? Continued blast off. With all of the excitement in the space and with all of the institutional FOMO that is just getting ramped up, I think that's very likely. And again, guys, we don't have to limit ourselves to the idea that bull markets can only last a few months with Bitcoin. Historically, that's what it has been, but like we said at the beginning of the video, just because we have some history on Bitcoin doesn't mean Bitcoin literally has to repeat that exact same cycle over and over and over again until the end of the world. I don't believe that Bitcoin would be that predictable. In fact, I think that what we're going to see here, again, this is where things get a little hard to predict. You see people actually kind of unanimously saying that now, that we're in a blue sky breakout as Bitcoin's been exploding and discovering its new price targets. People are saying, wow, it's getting pretty hard to try to do TA on this, to try to predict this, and naturally it is. We're in a we're probably at the most unpredictable levels of Bitcoin that we've seen in at least 3 years. Back in January of 2017, nobody was predicting a $20,000 Bitcoin in only 12 months from January 2017. And in the same token, everybody right now predicting a $100,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin. Will that be the case? It's possible, but we have to resign ourselves to the idea that we could be completely off. And based on everything that we've seen, specifically in the year 2020, which is now ended, all signs and all data would actually point to those being lower predictions. And again, I'm going to give you my prediction later on in the video. I'm personally a little more conservative just because I don't want to be too crazy, but I want to acknowledge the fact that being too crazy is still a very real possibility for Bitcoin's price. But again, I want to share with you what I think is realistic for Bitcoin moving forward. So as you can see here, guys, we're very close. 32,000 is the target that Geert Jancap here on Twitter has for the thermocap multiple here. If we go on to the next chart, this is an interesting chart that I see, and this compares the other cycles. This blue one is 2017, the bear market here, and then this is the previous cycle back in 2013. So he says here are two scenarios as we approach 30,000 US dollars. We're rejected at the wall here, right about 30,000, and we regroup, correct, and eventually take 30, and then follow 2017, which you can see right here, still really bullish. Or scenario 2, we breach through it without finding much resistance at all, meaning we kind of don't see a lot of resistance right around 30K, which I personally am leaning more towards, as we've seen no resistance at 25K, and literally for a week straight we were basically setting new all-time highs by $1,000 almost every single day. Is that a trend I expect to continue? Yes. Could we see a pullback first? Yes. Will that pullback be bought pretty fast? I personally also think yes. So even though we'll still see pullbacks, guys, we're extremely bullish right now. And his scenario here, we scale the wall with little resistance following 2013, obscenely bullish. So his scenario number 1 is very bullish, and then scenario number 2 is obscenely bullish. And he's saying that that is more reminiscent of the cycle back in 2013, which is right here, this green one, which is exactly what I just mentioned back here, of this massive explosion, cool down for like half of a year, and then another massive explosion. So again, I personally agree with that, because that lines up with exactly what I said a few minutes ago, why I think it looks more similar, if anything, to this. Even though it's not going to be exactly like either of these cycles, it's completely unique in terms of price action, TA, and more specifically in terms of fundamentals, with institutions getting in, were institutions in Bitcoin back in 2013? Not even close, guys. Literally, no. The answer was no. They weren't even involved in 2017. This is the first bull cycle where we have actual institutions getting in, and even still, it's not even that much. Meaning there's a lot more institutional involvement that has yet to come. We still have a lot more growth yet to come, guys. We're nowhere near the top, in my opinion here. And then also, I find this very interesting. So most of Bitcoin is actually illiquid. Most of it is just sitting. So here, 78% of the circulating Bitcoin supply is illiquid, according to Glassnode here on Twitter, and therefore hardly accessible for buying. Okay, we already know millions of Bitcoin have been lost permanently when people were mining them, a decade ago, and they have them on hard drives and computers that got lost. And we hear these stories of people going to these landfills trying to locate their Bitcoin because they could be millionaires, even some billionaires, if they would find their lost Bitcoin. But a lot of these people lost them. In fact, I actually know people who had a couple hundred, even over 1,000 Bitcoin, and they sold them back when Bitcoin was still under like $10. And yeah, there's a lot of stories like this. A lot of people have lost Bitcoin, and basically that leads to this. This points to a bullish investor sentiment as large amounts of Bitcoin are being hoarded, which reduces the selling pressure as well. Glassnode continues here. The liquidity is defined as the average ratio of received and spent Bitcoin across entities. We show that currently almost 15 million Bitcoin are classified as illiquid, leaving under 5 million Bitcoin in constant circulation that are available for buying and selling. And guys, I'm sure, as you know, Grayscale is buying, I think, like 2 to 3 times the amount of Bitcoin that's even available. Grayscale is one company. Other companies also want to buy in. There's just simply not enough Bitcoin, okay? You don't have to do a lot of research to see that the demand for Bitcoin has been exploding, and the supply of Bitcoin obviously cannot, increase. The supply is capped. The supply is deflationary. There's less and less Bitcoin, more and more demand. You guys do the math. Big things are possible, and this is the cycle where I think we're going to see those big things come to fruition. And guys, very importantly here, this was only posted like 3 days ago by Glassnode. Over the course of 2020, a total of 1 million additional Bitcoin have become illiquid. Investors are increasingly holding their Bitcoin. They're storing them. They're not selling them. A large amount of people. I know for a fact, I'm not selling my Bitcoin right now, right? We're on the verge of a massive bull cycle. I've been waiting for over 3.5 years to really get into this next cycle, or to really take full advantage of a cycle from the beginning to the end. And why would I want to sell my Bitcoin now? I think a lot of people, well, it's not even my opinion. Many people are thinking the same thing. They're thinking, why am I going to unload my Bitcoin now when it could be worth 5, 6, 7x in maybe 6 months, 12 months? Who knows? This bull run could go even longer than that. Again, it's fundamentally, I think, a different cycle. And I think this will be the first cycle where we truly, again, this is just my opinion here, but I personally think this is the first cycle where we're truly going to diverge from the type of structure that we've seen, because there are similarities, even though these cycles are different. They're different in shape and size. I think we're going to diverge even more from the trajectory we're seeing here now. And it's not because of technical analysis, personally. I think it's more of just fundamentals and basically supply and demand. And the last thing Glassnode talks about here is that the liquid Bitcoin supply has grown more than the newly mined supply, which is a pattern we observed in the bull run of 2017 as well. But again, as we've already mentioned in this video, there are some stark differences between this bull run already and the 2017 bull run. So guys, this is actually, I really find this interesting as well. So this is not Bitcoin, this is the entire cryptocurrency market cap. So Bitcoin started breaking out to new all-time highs back in February of 2017, okay, before it ran to 20,000. So the previous all-time highs were, way before that, but it broke its all-time high in about February of 2017, and that, from that mark, the entire cryptocurrency market cap went from about 18 billion to $750 billion US, which represents an over 4,000% gain. Let's say that we get roughly 25% of that. Let's say we only get a little bit of over 1,000% gain here in the entire cryptocurrency market cap. As you can see here, guys, we go from roughly 750 billion. It would be possible that we could hit multiple. I personally think it's guaranteed we're going to hit at least $1 trillion in this cycle in terms of the entire crypto market cap. I think it's also likely that we actually go to that next level and break past 8, 9, $10 trillion. Okay, this is a smaller fraction percentage-wise than the last cycle after we broke Bitcoin all-time highs. I think that this cycle is going to primarily, again, include Bitcoin's market cap. I think Bitcoin dominance is going to remain high for a lot of this cycle, and just in general for cryptocurrency moving forward. as I think a lot of people learned their lesson with some trash coins back in 2017 and 2018. As you guys know, I'm a huge altcoin fan, but I also am very aware that like 99% of altcoins are garbage. That's simply because there's thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies, and even if, let's say, 30 of them are amazing cryptocurrencies, that still is like, only a very small percent of how much actual cryptocurrencies there are. And again, most of them are just trash, even if there are some really good ones, because there are. The overwhelming majority of them are not good ones. And specifically, Bitcoin at this point is in a class of its own in terms of its current cycle, current exuberance, current institutional interest. At this point, so far, their institutions are only interested in Bitcoin. I do think it's likely that they're going to become interested in Ethereum as we move forward, and they actually get more involved and knowledgeable about the space as well. But basically, my point here is that multi-trillion-dollar market cap for cryptocurrency, I personally see as being not a possibility, but a certainty. And we could see that over just the next few months. But realistically, we're going to probably see this play out throughout the entirety of 2021. Okay, we're probably going to see this play out through the entirety of 2021. Wow, so guys, make sure to leave your comment below to enter for the giveaway in the next webisode. So much great stuff coming. As well, if you guys have experience trading and you want to support the channel, make sure to check out our links to buy below. Some very nice bonuses, as always. Keep in mind, trading is risky. Your best gains are going to come out of holding Bitcoin over the long term. And you notice I say Bitcoin. There are going to be some percentage-wise higher gains in altcoins. But again, the risk is much greater with things like that. But yeah, make sure to check out Bybit if you're interested. Make sure to smash the like, subscribe, turn on those comments below. Make sure to leave your comment for the giveaway, and I'll see you in the next Schwebisode.